let's talk about the power of identity. Now, why can identity destroy or build your life? First, identity is the strongest force of direction and motivation for human action that there is. Now, identity encompasses the memories, well, rather encompasses the memories, experiences, relationships, and values that creates your sense of self, who you believe yourself to be. Now, who you believe yourself to be is what is going to drive your actions, and your actions dictate your results. So, in order to change results, you have to change and reinforce some parts of your identity. Now, this is very important. We're going to go into a deep dive about this, but I want you to really understand the importance of this thing. This is something that's going to completely change the way you act and who you are. Now, let me tell you a story. I was on the 5 a.m. grind where I was trying to wake up consistently at 5 a.m. so that I could work and build my future life. But I would struggle because it was really cold in the mornings, and it was so much more comfortable for me to just go back to sleep. And it was so easy just to make excuses and not wake up on time. But I decided to change my identity, and it was a breakthrough for me. I realized that my identity would change how I act, and there would be so much pain of acting in a way that I didn't believe my identity was. That, I would always do what I needed to act, um, within who I believe myself to be. And to put that simply, that means that not acting in a way that is consistent or that goes with who you believe yourself to be gives you pain, discomfort, right? So and I want to be transparent here. I recently went through a spell of not, of just not being on my grind, not waking up on time, going to sleep late, um, and basically what I did to fix this was I wrote down on my identity mapping, which is something you'll learn about, um, that I'm a type of person that always wakes up on time, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And this morning, I was, there was a part of me, which is the punk, right? That's contemplating, like, hey, should I stay in bed? And then I'm thinking to myself, I didn't write that on that paper for no reason. It would be sucky for me. It's not in my nature to sit there and decide to stay in bed when I can get up and go chase my purpose. And that's what identity does for you. It changes the way you think about your actions, the way you act completely. Now, so basically, I changed who I was, and I told myself that I'm the type of person who wakes up at 5 a.m. consistently, and things changed. I went from barely being able to get a week consistent to going months of waking up on time. And this was all because I changed who I was, and who I was changed my actions. Now, I want you to think about that and how that can be useful for you. Now, this is the most powerful method of human change I believe there is. Now, I want you to imagine being able to shape who you are and how you react and what you do, all by reinforcing the identity of the version of you that is that type of person. I want to say that again so that you really get it. Imagine being able to shape who you are and how you react and what you do, all by reinforcing the identity of the version of yourself who is the type of person to do that thing. Think about it. Now, when you are chasing goals, chasing dreams, chasing what you want your future to look like, eventually you're going to be that person who has those things. But you have to go through a metamorphosis, a change of identity, a change of action, a change of the fabric of your identity, of who you believe yourself to be, that has to change in order for your actions to be consistent enough in that direction. Now, something that I can explain this a little bit better is, say for instance, uh, uh, um, a overweight person gets a rush of motivation. They go work out. Then they don't work out again for a whole year. And they just don't work out. They're not the type of person who works out. That's the idea of what it looks like to do something that is outside of who you believe yourself to be. That's why change is so hard, especially consistent change, because we go back to our old habits. Why? Because of course they're more comfortable, and the human nature is to chase the path of least resistance. But the important thing here is that you do not have the identity of that person who does that thing as a habit. So you end up not taking it up. And the hardest thing to do is fight against identity. And that's why people say, hey, it takes 21 days to form a habit, or it takes this, that, and this, that, and the third. You have to understand, when a fat person or overweight person, and you may be overweight, so get offended. Hopefully, I hope you get offended and lose weight if you're overweight, right? This is not a stab at you, but obviously I'm not a person who's, I'm a person who's here to help you improve your life, not a person to help you cope with what, the life is that you already created. If you're fat, get over it. Change it. If that's something that you physically can't change, then be content with it. But if you can physically change it, I bet you would prefer a better body. So go and work for it. Now, what I'm saying here is that a fat person, the overweight person, can get motivation, but then their identity is going to override that. A person who has discipline will be able to override their past identity through consistent action. And that's how a habit is formed. But when you change your identity, you are able to instantly become that person who can easily and consistently do that thing that you wish to do. Now, I want you to think about that and what that means for you in your life, right? What are the things that are holding you back, and how can a shift in identity allow you to adopt these new habits, or these new skill sets, or these new ways of living? See, one of the biggest things you learn when you first start off as an entrepreneur is that there's a difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is a boost in energy and desire towards wanting a certain outcome or goal. Discipline is you knowing what's best for you and being able to slave yourself into doing whatever is not comfortable. Because it doesn't take discipline to do something you already want to do, or something that is easy for you, or something that's comfortable. It takes discipline to do the things that are uncomfortable, something that you don't easily do, something that you have to push yourself for. Now, I want you to think about this. The whole idea is you need to be able to shift who you are, and that will outweigh discipline, and it will outweigh motivation. That is one of the biggest breakthroughs I've had in my journey, is understanding that. Now, this is not affirmation. I created something called that I coined, and I want to let everybody know that I coined it, and it's called identity mapping, or IM. This is where every single day you map out who you are and the character traits that you have and the way you think. And this is so powerful to understand. Now, here are the results before I started this. This is my consistency tracker, which I recommend you get and you'll learn more about. But this is my consistency tracker. And basically, what you're seeing here, right here, is 2 days, a 2-day streak. This is where I was when I took the screenshot, but I scrolled back and I seen that I was on a 2-day streak. I changed and I was on 16-day streak, but that's just when I took the screenshot. That's where I was, right? And this is a reflection of how consistent I was. And here are the results after. All green. My behavior, my actions changed because my identity changed. And here is what identity mapping looks like. Now, you are going to be writing these things every single day. And if your handwriting is not great, and hey, I'm transparent. My handwriting is not the greatest. So what I do is I sit and take my time to write every single letter. And what that means is I'm putting more effort into this thing, which means that I'm valuing it more. The less effort you have to put into something, the less you value it, right? So if you worked, 15 hours for $1, you're gonna spend money a lot differently than if you worked 5 minutes and got $100 billion. So think about it. The effort you put into something has an impact on how much you value it. Now, how do you properly identity map? Now, what I want you to do is buy a notebook, a fancy notebook, a regular notebook. I would prefer a fancy one. The more you have into it, involved in it, in terms of money, time, attention, effort, the more, a value you attach to this, the more of effective it's going to have on your life. So if you're really wanting to make a drastic change that's going to allow you to grow very fast, invest in it, right? And then I would recommend a spiral one that makes it easy to write on each side of the paper and turn pages rather than like a regular notebook where it's almost like a book and you have to flap it all the way open, instead of just, a spiral one that you can just flip easily. Next, you want to buy an expensive pen that will help you value identity mapping. Now, I don't know what your budget is, but there are some expensive pens out here. So expensive pen, right? So there's some really expensive pens like Mont Blancs. I've heard of those. Like this one's 26,000. Just imagine how much you will value the change that you need to make if you bought a $26,000 pen, right? Of course, it doesn't have to be $26,000. The one I bought was like 30 something dollars. But hey, whatever your budget is, spend it and do what you have to do. Like this is 80 something thousand dollars. It's probably encrusted with diamonds right there, right? Just imagine how much change a person will make. Honestly, it's relative to your income, honestly. So if you make $1 million a month and you buy this pen, you're probably going to value it as much as an average person will value this $300 pen. So keep that in mind. It is relative to your income. So if you make a huge amount of money, of course you want to spend more. Now, then you want to add identity mapping to your to-do list daily, right? For you to complete daily. Then get the app called Productive, which you can use to track how consistent you are with completing your to-do list. And when your identity mapping is in your to-do list, it becomes a part of the easy to manage habit of completing a to-do list, right? This is something as entrepreneurs that we do daily. So if we include something inside of our to-do list daily, it's going to allow us to be consistent with it, especially if we're tracking it. Now, to get a little bit personal, you guys can see my to-do list for now. Nothing crazy on here. But one of these, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about this in the future, but for my to-dos, I already finished a lot of these things for today. It's the end of my day. But I update my self sheet, which is, and this is getting even more personal. I'll show you guys too. Right. This is a tracker of me completing my identity mapping. And this is a tracker of me going to sleep on time. Right. So I basically am being very transparent with you guys right now and showing you guys, hey, I didn't go to sleep on time for these days. Why? Because I thought that I could not do this business anymore, pretty much. It doesn't justify me not going to sleep on time, but I kind of was in a bit of a slump because I'm like, I heard about the CFPB thing and I didn't know that there's loopholes to it. I thought it was just illegal and I was going to have to stop this business. But then I went to sleep on time yesterday and hence that's the day that I realized that I can continue this business. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a self sheet. Just think about like the most sophisticated people in life, the people who grow the most. They have different things to track themselves and to improve themselves and to keep themselves consistent. Because one of the biggest things is, consistency. So, but it's on my to do list every day to update my self sheet, to check off my productive list, which is this thing over here. Let me show you, which is this thing, which checks off that. And then also to set up my to-do list for the next day, meaning that I drag all of these things back over. Like the first thing I do is check my finances, then read my goals, etc. um, and that's what it is. So I hope you got some value with it from that. Of course, I'm trying to be transparent here. No holds barred or whatever they call it. All right, now let's see where we were. All right, when you identity map, you want to make sure that you use I am statements and try to focus more on character traits than outcomes, because outcomes come from character traits. It's like a order of operations, right? Actions come from beliefs, and then identity comes from beliefs, and then identity forms your actions, and your actions form your character traits, and your character traits form your actions. Wait, I don't know if I said that right. And your actions determine your outcomes. I probably should have listed that out. Matter of fact, I'm going to list that out. Now, let's say it starts with beliefs, then identity, which comes from your belief about who you are, and then what's after that. Then there is character traits, then actions, then outcomes. So what we're focusing on is this, so that it can impact all of these things, right? Beliefs is a separate thing that you'll have to attack a little bit differently. Now, as far and I think this is very valuable to even understand, because when you understand that, hey, I'm not gonna say I have $1 million in my pocket right now, that's not gonna do anything for your life in terms of identity mapping, because having $1 million in your pocket right now is not an identity, right? Being the type of person to wake up on time is, being the type of person who always works and focuses on high leverage things is, the type of person who can focus, the type of person who eats healthy, the type of person who is very focused and determined, right? All these character traits are based off of your identity, and that's the type of things you want to write down so that you can have both of these down, and it's going to influence these things, right? So these are the type of things you want to write on your thing, right? So it's like I do. That's how you write these things out on identity mapping. Now, this is not just some woo-woo nonsense. This is stuff that garners real results, that gives you real results. So don't just take this as some woo-woo nonsense and just listen to it and do how other people do with courses and decide not to do it. This is something that can actually change your life and actually change the outcome of your whole life. Like I'm telling you, like your grandkids will live a different life because of you writing some things on paper. And it may seem simple, but it's completely game changing as far as consistency and the ability to change who you are on a moment's notice. In order to grow. So yeah, there's tons of people who may watch this and there's tons of people who may take courses and decide not to do stuff like this, but you're not trying to be that person. The most of the people who succeed are the people who watch a course and then take action on what they learned. Like, how are you, like, you're investing in yourself for no reason if you're not going to take action on what you learned, because the difference between the time that you learn something and the time that you change something is growth, right? So if you take 2 years to change, you're not going to grow over those 2 years, right? But if you instantly learn and then change, you're going to grow a lot faster. Now, also, when it comes to traits slash actions that affects something you want to improve, you want to make sure you include that. So say, for instance, I go to sleep at a certain time to have myself, excuse me, the example is I go to sleep at a certain time. So I have to get in bed. That's what it is. It was just a typo that messed me up there. See, I'm being transparent with you guys. Not everything is perfect in life, but I did put a lot of work into this for you guys. So, basically, I have myself get in bed by 10:30 to get my body ready to sleep on time, and this makes it easier for me to be consistent and always go to sleep on time. And the way this, and the way this looks on my sheet is I am always in bed by 10:30, and I literally just wrote this maybe, you know, 20, 25, 30 minutes ago on my identity mapping, and it's very close to 10:30, so I'm going to be getting in bed soon. Matter of fact, it's 10:15, and after I finish this, guess where I'm going to be? In bed. Now, identity map for a year straight, and watch how it changes your life completely. I challenge you that, right? I'm giving you this as a requirement and not a suggestion. You need to at least do identity mapping for at least a year straight before stopping. And even then, I wouldn't even recommend stopping it, because you might fall back into inconsistency and lose all of the gains you got from being so consistent with changing your identity and being able to shift who you are and in order to grow. And this is a great opportunity for you to see if you have limiting beliefs around this. Are you, not the writing type of person? Is this impossible for you? Is it, are you unable to be consistent? Right? That's how you can catch yourself in a limiting belief. If you heard your subconscious think that, or you heard yourself consciously think this, like, oh, I don't feel like doing that, or I don't want to do that, or this, that, and the third. It's something that can help you, but you're not taking action. And that's not what you want to do, right? You are the type of person, right? You are the type of person who will identity map consistently for a year at least, right? The reason I say to do this and to do it consistently is because it is the highest leverage thing that you can do to make sure your actions are in alignment with your goals consistently. Please, I beg you, do this. If you are even just skeptical about this, all I want you to do is at least try it out for 3 months straight. 90 days. Just give it a 90-day trial. See how much it changes. And I wanted to say a smaller amount, like maybe a week, but people will be too primed to give up. Results can vary, right? But this is something that can change you overnight, right? I'm telling you, like, this is something that changed me, but I've only done it for myself and seen what identity does for other people. I literally created this, and I have my results to say for it, but I can't guarantee that within the same amount of time it's going to do the thing. Maybe it'll be longer, maybe it'll be faster for you to give you changes, right? Heck, you can do identity mapping for one day, and then the next day act in accordance with this. And the best way to improve is to write something, but when you have an opportunity to take an action that aligns with it, do it, because that's what confirms your belief, right? And I didn't mention this, but you need to confirm every one of these beliefs about yourself by at least having the discipline to do it the first time you have that clear opportunity where, hey, it's 10:15, but you have the opportunity to go and watch some YouTube videos or get in bed at 10:30, or you have the opportunity to chill or finish your to-do list, or you have the opportunity to read or not, or just go to sleep for the day and you didn't read at all, right? So for these things, every time you see an opportunity, you need to take that and act in consistency with what you believe. And that's going to confirm it and allow you to grow even more and solidify it. This is not just magic. This is something that you have to confirm to yourself. And once you do that, it's going to be like cake, always doing these things. But yeah, I hope you got some value from this. Please at least try it. God bless.